Hello and welcome to the Underhive. We are back with some more How to Command the Death Guard. And in this episode, I am correcting a mistake. So there's a few issues there with what I was talking about with this list here from Richard Hill. The demons not being listed did mess me up a little bit, I will say, but it is what it is. This 190 points, it's very likely that some of it's going towards Epidemius. That was pointed out to me in a comment. I won't name drop you in case you're not interested in that, but I really do appreciate you getting involved, so thank you for that. So Epidemius is a fantastic buffing piece for Nurgle demons, and almost all of these units are Nurgle demons, despite being Death Guard. Demon Prince is a demon. These 6 fellas here, well, 10 and 3, so 8 fellas, 5 and 3, 8 fellas here are all demon engines of Nurgle, and therefore demons. The Plagueburst Crawler is a demon engine, and therefore a demon. And the Demon Primarch is probably one of the most demony of demons, in that he's a Demon Primarch. So almost all of this list is going to benefit from Epidemius's buffs. So I'll come back to that in a minute. I will say I have seen that list once and I didn't see the full game. I haven't even looked at demons in Death Guard since 8th edition when you could ritual summon them. That's not in the 9th Codex. I didn't notice it wasn't there because I didn't really use it in 8th either. But it isn't a case of summoning them turn 1 like I thought. It is a case of bringing them in as reinforcements like you would with any other reinforcement unit you bring in. It comes in from turn 2. Now that is relevant to Epidemius because of his ability Tally of Pestilence. The Tally of Pestilence starts at the battle round, starts the battle at 0. Whilst Epidemius is on the battlefield, add 1 to the tally whenever a unit, friend or foe, is destroyed by a Nurgle demon unit. And look up the result on the chart below. The results are cumulative, but are lost if Epidemius dies. So turn 1 Epidemius is off the board because he's coming in as a reinforcement. So another thing that would have been wrong about what I said is that you would probably pay cagey for turn 1. The idea is to get all the kills when Epidemius is on the board. You might soften up a target because wiping a few models isn't killing a unit necessarily. They could die as a result of morale, which wouldn't count either way because the morale destroyed them. As far as my understanding of that wording is, it has to be the Nurgle demon that destroys the unit, not causes it to fail morale. So turn 2 Epidemius comes in and you've got 0 on the tally. At 0 and 1, there's no effects. The first unit you kill, you don't get anything for. But the second unit gives you reroll hits of a 1 for all the Nurgle demons. So your Demon Prince, your Drones, your Blight Haulers, your Plagueburst, and Mortarion are rerolling 1s. Mortarion is probably giving himself full rerolls anyway, but the rest aren't going to get rerolls virtually ever, other than Plague Weapons. So they're never going to get reroll 1s to hit based on the current layout of the Codex. So that is a massive buff. Makes the Plague Burst that bit more consistent. Makes your 2 Melters more consistent and your Crack Missiles. And the Flesh Mower dishing out 12 attacks. It's always nice to get another chance to not miss those 1s. From 3 kills, you get an extra inch of move on all those units. So that puts the Bloat Drones up to 11 with Fly very, very quick. Mortarion's up to 13 with his full bracket. The Blight Haulers are up to, is it 9? It's either 9 or 10. Oh no, they're on 10 to begin with. They're a bit faster than I gave them credit for. So they're up to 11 as well. So suddenly very, very fast, boys. The 4th unit killed gets you +1 strength. So that takes the Blight Haulers up to 7. The Drones up to 8, which is really nice. It takes the Demon Prince with Sword up to 9. So even wounding that Land Raider from Chaos Space Marines. Yeah, Hellforged Sword is 8 normally, so 7 + 1. So it'd be 8 + 1 is 9. Very nice. And then Mortarion goes up to 9 on his low strength profile and 18 strength on his Eviscerating Blow, which is absolutely wild. On the 5th unit killed, you increase the toughness of all of those units by 1. So you've got toughness 8 fast attack units with 5 up invulns, 3 up saves, and armor of contempt. very, very difficult to remove them. The Mephitic Blight Haulers don't mind being in combat. They don't get an extrable advance, so they're shooting on 4s, but they don't mind being in combat. All 3 of the weapons can be used in combat, even though the Bile Spit is blast. It specifically states it can be used in engagement range. So the Blight Haulers really don't mind it. They're going to be hitting on strength 7 at this point with the Gnashing Maws. AP 2, damage 1. It's fine into most infantry. And they're making 4 attacks each. So you're getting 8 attacks out of these squads of 2. That's enough to wipe out the last couple of models in an infantry squad quite consistently. And then for the 6th kill, you get +1 attack. So again, those squads go up to 5 attacks each. So that's 10 attacks on them. The drones with the flesh mowers triple their attacks, so they go from 4 to 5, but that makes it from 12 to 15 attacks, which is massive. Mortarion, if he's using the Reaping Scythe at strength 9, AP 2 -1, is going to have another 3 attacks because he triples them as well. It's just so much good buffing. I don't think anybody needs to be reminded how good extra stats are. I feel like I'm perhaps teaching people to suck eggs there. The breakpoints are perhaps a little bit more important than the actual additional one, but going up in stats is always brilliant. The 7th or more kills gives your demon units reroll 1s to their disgustingly resilient, but that only applies to the demons from the 8th edition codex here. I imagine that rule's going to change because, of course, the keyword is used for -1 damage for the rest of these units here from the Death Guard. So I imagine that's going to change to some extent. I don't know what they'll end up calling it, though, because that ability is referred to as revoltingly resilient as a warlord trait here, which Mortarion's got. So I don't know, maybe they'll use that, but it's not a warlord trait to them. Not sure. Or maybe they'll just get -1 damage and keep the keyword. Maybe they don't like that 5-up feel no pain just being a permanent like chapter tactic. So basically that only affects Epidemius and the other demon unit that you might bring for the 190. Epidemius is only 105, so he's bringing all that buff in for 105. And he's also got 4 attacks on a 2-up weapon skill with a Bale Sword. So he's strength 5, AP 3, damage 1, and he can reroll failed wound rolls. Really, really good. So it's not the same Bale Sword as everybody else. He's kind of got like built-in Arch Contaminator for himself. But that kind of makes sense. He is a Nurgle demon. So yeah, he's nothing really to sniff at for 105. I think very, very strong. But it's almost all baked into the fact that you're just adding stats to units that are already so well costed for the stats, in my opinion, that just tips them over the balance to insane. So I apologise for missing that on my first take. I did notice when I was editing it, and I just thought I want to use my first impression because it's me talking. You might like that, you might not, because it's a bit wrong. So I apologise if you didn't, but if you did, great. I'm glad to have you here. So at least I've corrected it now. I assume Richard isn't going to watch this this video, but if he does, at least I got there eventually, Richard. And I think you would probably agree with me that without having the full list available to me, it is that bit harder to have read your mind. But as I say, it was pointed out in the comments to me very quickly after that video came out. So I'm not saying that nobody would have worked it out, because I'm sure there are a few of you out there that were like, oh, what, all the demon engines? That's got to be Epidemius, which it is. The thing for me is I don't actually think it's terrible on its own without Epidemius, but I doubt it'd have come first. I think all these extra buffs do add up to improve consistency and durability and output in such a way that it is conducive to winning games you might have lost. It doesn't really play the game in the normal way. There's no obsec or anything, but the bases on all of these models are so big that, like, if you put 2 Blight Haulers on the front end of an objective's 3-inch, it makes it so much further for your opponent to get around and try and get upset models on the objective. They're going to struggle even with like the piling and consolidate at some stage. So yeah, the width of those bases can be a big factor in having models on the objective, but stopping anything else getting on to take it off you. Not impossible, but it does make it more difficult. And again, at the end of the day, they're that quick that it's like as soon as there's an objective with nothing on it, And you go, well, okay, I'll have that. I don't need this model to kill a unit this turn. I can do it with them and them. So I'm going to have it with this bloat drone just on the objective that's got nobody there. And all of a sudden, when it starts getting to T8, it gets to the point where you can just go, well, you can't really deal with this in one turn, so I can afford for it to do nothing because it's very likely still alive. So yeah, really, really good list. Well done to Richard. I think it does require piloting. I don't think it's like an auto win list, but it is stronger than I think was intended. Because again, 8th and 9th codexes aren't specifically meant to mix. They can. There's nothing illegal about this whatsoever, or he wouldn't have been able to go and play with it. But I do think it will change when the Demon Codex comes out. So many things got a change in some way, even if it was just like an added ability applying to the codex as a whole, or an ability going away, like Demonic Ritual went away for Death Guard, and I missed that. Yeah, I imagine something's going to change, whether it's the wording that demons have to make it not demon engines, like for it to play as intended. This is to buff Nurgle, buy Nurgle demons, don't buy Death Guard and use just Epidemius. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to be making armies and nobody buy them except for Epidemius. So I imagine it will either be like a wording change for the keyword for what it affects, or it will just change in such a way that it doesn't interact with these particular units in this particular way, because the breakpoints that are a hit for this being strength 8 and toughness 8 with a lot of units, the Nurgle demons can't really get that. The breakpoints they hit are more like, 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, where it's still something that the typical army has game against. They might be wounded on 5s rather than on 6s. And they might be wounded on 3s rather than 4s with a lot of sort of anti-tank weapons. I think that was the intention, but again, not taking it away from Richard. Make hay while you can, strike while the iron's hot. It's a legal list, a strong list. Why not get your money's worth? Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm glad I've corrected that, and I will now move on to another video rather than correcting my past mistakes. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time in the Underhive.